Hey, hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this Azure DevOps tutorial series, today let's discuss about what is Azure Repos. So if you ask me what is the most important topic in the entire Azure DevOps tutorial series, I would generally say Azure Repos. The reason is because Azure Repos is the base for any Azure DevOps project. Okay, so it is utmost necessary for every DevOps engineer to understand how repos in Azure works. All right, so before starting with our practical session, let's try to understand few basic definition that is provided in Microsoft documentation, and then we'll jump onto that. All right, so what is Azure Repos? Okay, Azure Repos is a set of version control tools that you can use to manage your code. All right, whether your software project is small or large, using version control as soon as possible is a very good idea. Okay, so imagine that you are running a project and you are you're managing your code. So obviously you need a version control tool to manage your code, right? So in real-time market, like you would have heard about Git, Bitbucket, and a lot of other popular version control tools which you generally use for version controlling purpose. So here Azure Repos has actually provides two types of version control. One is using Git and another one is using TFVC. So let's try to come to this point in our later stage. All right, so first we'll try to understand what is Azure Repos and why do we need Azure Repos. So basically Azure Repos is a set of version controlling tool that is actually used to manage your code. Okay, as simple as that. So if you are not sure about what is a version control, so version control systems are softwares that helps you track changes make in your code over time. So say you are a single member project or you're working on a multiple developer project. Obviously keeping track of your code is very difficult. Believe me, it's really not very easy to actually track your code when multiple developers involved in your project. There will be a lot of confusion. You will lose track of your code whenever you do not have a version control system. Okay, so that is why I really educate everyone to understand at least any one version control systems that is available in the market. So as you edit your code, you tell the version control systems to take a snapshot of your files. The version control system saves the snapshot permanently, so you can recall it later if you need it. Use version control to save your work, coordinate code changes across your team. Okay, even if you are just a single developer, version control helps you stay organized as you fix bugs and develop new features. Version control keeps a history of your development so that you can review and even roll back to any version of your code. You can speak to any developer. Okay, so they will definitely let you know the importance of using a version control system. Okay, so the version control actually helps you to stay organized and manage your code in a very in a very professional way. The reason is because say you are a 10 member there are 10 developers working in a project. So each and everyone will have their own modules and they will start coding on their particular development area. So at last, whenever you try to combine everything, there is a definite possibility that you might lose code, you might overwrite some code, you might delete some code. Okay, so that is why that is where the version control like Git comes into picture, and it is very advised to actually use those kind of version control because it will definitely help you in managing your code through your entire project development lifecycle. Okay, so there are two most popular version controls in Azure Repos. One is using Git, which is a distributed version control, which is a very open source and popularly available. And next one is a TFVC, Team Foundation Version Control. It's a centralized version control. Okay, so in this particular tutorial, we'll just discuss about how we integrated Git and what is the and how we can use Git in Azure Repos. All right, so now let's go to our practical session. So let me look into my Azure website. Okay, here it is. So here I am already into my project online DevOps demo. This is the project that I've been using regularly for my demo purpose. Okay, so here it is. So here on the left hand side, if you look at we have boards, repos, pipelines, test plan, artifacts. So in our previous tutorials, we discuss about each and every aspects of Azure boards. So here we'll focus on repos. Okay, so if you look at the repos, here we have 6 default options. One is files, commits, pushes, branch, tags, and pull request. Okay, we'll look into all these things one by one in detail in our upcoming videos, but the intention of this particular video is to give you an overall picture about how repos works. Okay, so if you watch this video till the end, you will have a very clear picture about how to use Azure Repos in real-time projects, and then you can dig in deeper to understand each of these topics as needed. Okay, so now I'm clicking on repos. So once I click on repos, you can see there's a setup page here. Okay, so currently because it is empty, I do not have anything. Okay, I do not have any code added here, so it is showing me some options. Like first option is, it is asking me to clone it to my computer using HTTPS or using SSH key, and or you can even clone it to your popular code editor like Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ IDEA, PyCharm. So these are little popular IDEs available in the market. You can actually clone your code to this particular development area, your IDE, and start working on it. And next one is using push an existing repository from command line. So again, you can push it using HTTPS, SSH. You can also import a repository. If there is a repository that is already available, you can import that. And finally, we have you can initialize a main branch with readme or git ignore. Okay, so here you can use any options, but since we are starting from the scratch, I will just start with initialize main branch. All these types I will show you. I will make a separate video and try to make you understand how you work with all these 3 options above. Okay, since we are starting from scratch, I will focus on building the branch right from the base. Okay, so here it is. So initialize main branch with readme or ignore. Okay, so few people call it as main branch. In real-time projects, few people call it as master branch too. Okay, so both are actually same. And there is a readme file. Okay, so I can uncheck it if I do not need, and if I will check it if I need a readme file. And there's an option for git ignore. So git ignore is like if you need if you want to ignore some kind of files when you want to push it into your code repository, then you can use these options. But for now, do not worry about all these things. Let's try to focus only on basics. I will try to make a separate videos for git so that you will have a very deep understanding about how git works. So here I will initialize it. Okay, when I click on initialize, you can see here it is. My main branch is created. This is my main code branch. So you can, if you look at the drop down here, so here we have main. Okay, this is my default branch that has been created. Okay, so now you can see inside this I have a readme file which we wanted to create, right? So there is a readme file which we created. So currently what I'm planning to do is, so I am writing some code for my project and I want to push that code into my repository and maintain it. Okay, so generally main is like a master branch where your entire code is present. Generally not everyone will have write access to your main branch. Only admin or someone who has administrator privileges will have the ability to push your code to master or main branch. Okay, in real time you can create there are 10-member teams, and you do not want to give authority for everyone to push it to the main branch. The reason is because the main branch is very, very sensitive area. If you make any mistakes, your entire code will be lost. So that is why it is very critical to actually give someone the privileges to maintain the master branch, especially maybe your project lead or your someone like architect in your project, or maybe any administrator. So anyone can take control of the master branch. They can generally review your code and push it to main branch. Okay, so before pushing into main branch, each and every developer will start working under their own branch. Okay, own developer branch. I will try to walk through you each and every steps right now. Right, so now our intention is to push create a new code and push this into our repository. Now you can see, now I have only one readme file. I do not have any other code inside it. Okay, now let's try to use push any existing code into my main branch. All right, so first what I need to do is, let me take Git. So you can, there are many ways in which you can work with Git. Your Git UI, you can use Git bash and all. So I usually prefer Git bash, so I'm opening Git bash. Okay, once I open Git bash, right here it is. So my ultimate first step is to clone my project into my local. First if I have to work, then I have to obviously have that piece of code in my local computer, right? So what I'm planning to do is, I'm trying to let me create a new folder in, say, online DevOps project 1. Okay, so this is our sample project. Okay, now I'm planning to clone everything under this particular folder. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to this directory, right? I need to provide it within quotes. Now I am into this folder. Okay, now I need to clone this. So for cloning, the command is git clone, and you have to copy that. So here you have option for HTTPS or SSH. So I'm now going with HTTPS. I'm copying this URL and I'm providing it here. Here it is. So now what is happening is, the actual code that is present in the remote repository is now getting cloned. Okay, so now it is asking me to sign into my account. Yeah, now I have logged in. Hopefully the cloning should complete. Yeah, now the cloning is completed. You can see 100%. So now let me go to the fine. Before going to this, I will show you the folder. Okay, so this was our sample folder, right? Online DevOps project 1. So now you can see the code is now cloned and it is present in my local repository. So project online DevOps demo is my code, you can see. So this is my project name, right? Project online DevOps demo. The code is now present here. Inside here, now we do not have anything. All we have is just a readme file inside it. So what I'm planning to do is, I'm planning to make some code change and push into my main branch. That's what my ultimate aim is. Now what I'm going to do is, so say let me search for any existing code that is present here. .py, right here it is. Okay, so in my previous Python beginner tutorial series, I written a code for command line argument. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm just trying to reuse that code here. Excuse me guys. So I'm just trying to reuse this code and I'm trying to push this code into my repository. Okay, so in order to work with this, so what you first need to do is, now you are in this particular folder, right? So now I will go into my project folder, which is project online DevOps demo. So you can see, which is highlighted here, it shows it we are currently in main branch. Okay, so generally it is not advised to work in main branch. Whenever a developer works, you have to create your own branch and start working on it accordingly. So if you have to create a new branch, this is the command git checkout -b, and you can create a new branch called say for now we can call it as command line argument. So this is my program, right? So I'm just creating a new branch under name called command line argument. Okay, so now this is my new branch. You can see now I have switched to my new branch. All right, now I need to make the code change. So this is the file that I have copied, right? So this is the Python file I have copied. and now I am gonna put it into my actual local file which I've cloned. So we have readme, right? So here I am pasting the code. Now this code is present here. Alright, so now I will go to my git bash again. So there's a command called git status which will show you if we have made any changes to the code. So you can see I have added a new file called command line argument.py, which is highlighting in red, which shows that now this is the file that I made change, and I need to commit it in order to push it into my main branch. So we have a command called git add space dot, which will add the entire items that is present here. Okay, so git add. So now the add is successfully done, and then you have to git commit. There's an option called, so if I issue git status again, you can see now my file is ready to be committed. So now currently it is in unstage. Okay, so sorry, this is currently in staging location, so I need to commit it. All right, so you can see initially it was in red, now it is in green because now I have added it, and now it is ready to be committed to my branch. Okay, so now then what you need to do is, if you have to commit, you have to provide a command called git commit -m, and you have to provide any commit message, like any meaningful messages. Let me call it as code change. Say let me call my first code change. Okay, just I can provide any meaningful message. So for now I am providing as first code change and committing it. You can see now my commit is successful. Okay, now my commit is successful, and finally you have to git push origin your branch name. So this is my branch, right? So copy it. So if you have to understand this, git push is the actual command. Origin means if you want to push it anything to your remote repository somewhere here, then we generally use this origin command to, and the branch name. So now I'm entering it. Now my git push should be successful. Here it is. Now my git push is successful. Now if I go to this particular branch, you can see in the drop down there is an option called new branch. You can also create a new branch via this option, or else via the checkout command we used earlier, right? So you can use this command, or you can use this option in the UI to actually create a new branch too. Okay, now if I refresh this page, you can see now I've got a notification telling that I have made a change to the branch command line argument. So now if I select the drop down, it is under mine, it is showing a new branch called command line arg, which I have created, right? So now what you've done is you just push the code changes to your branch only. Okay, but your ultimate aim is to push it to the master branch, right? So that your project admin or any lead can review your code and push it to master branch. So in order to do that, there's generally a process. What you generally do is you will create something called pull request. You can in real time, few people call it as a PR, and full form is pull request. Okay, so if you click on this create a pull request, what you're doing by creating a pull request is, say I am the developer, I want to notify my TL to actually know that I have completed this particular code change. I want him or her to actually review that particular code and push it to the master branch. Okay, so now, so if I have to create a pull request, so you can see I am creating a pull request from my particular branch command line argument into main branch, right? So if you have to review it, you can see the files here. So this is the file that I have pushed, right? Command line argument.py is the file, and we have all the code here, and I can see the commits also here. This is my commit name was first code change, right? I can see it here. So now I can provide a title. You can provide any detailed description also according to your project requirement. And finally, you can also add reviewers too. Okay, so currently I'm not doing anything. You have an option to add reviewers too. And finally, you have work items also. Work items are the items. It's more like a task. Okay, it's more like a task which you can refer to my previous videos in the tutorial to understand what work items are. You generally you will get a work item related to your code, so that you can link it here too. Now, for now I don't have anything, but I will show this in detail in our upcoming videos. For now, just try to understand what are the options present here. And finally, you can provide tags too. Then you can create and create as draft. There are two options. Key thing to note here is whenever you click on create will actually make your pull request active. Okay, it will notify your reviewers, whereas create as a draft means in real time when you are running with pipelines and all, right? So you generally do not you do not want to mess anything with your pipelines. Sometimes it might fail, so you might be testing something on your own. In those kind of situation, it is best to actually use create as a draft and check how your pipeline runs, and then finally you can publish that code to your publish that PR. But here now I do not have any specific requirements. For now I am just publishing it by clicking on create. So now my PR is created. Okay, so you can see this is my pull request. Under pull request, so this is my pull request, right? Under pull request, my code is now present here. Okay, so what it means is I am telling my project lead to actually review my code and push it into main branch. Okay, so you can see there are various options here. Like this is an overview. You can clearly note there's a green tick mark telling no merge conflicts. Reason is because this is a very first code, but in there's a concept called merge conflict in Git. Like whenever multiple people try to make changes in the same file, then it is difficult for the Git to understand which code change to take, whose code change to take. Okay, so in those kind of situation, a conflict might arise. You have to manually resolve that conflict. For now, do not worry about it. Now you don't have any merge conflicts, and then it will also show the files which you are trying to push. It will also show the different kind of updates and the commits that is present on your that you have made, and there's an option to commit also. Now we have only one commit, but in real time it is not necessary you will have only one commit. You can have multiple commits too. So you can see those details here as well. And what you need to do is, once you create the one, so now you so if you add a reviewer here, right? So if you have added a reviewer here, that you can see that reviewer name here. Let me add this particular person as reviewer. Okay, so this is now it is an optional one, and you can add mandatory reviewers as well. Okay, what you need to do is, what the lead will do is, lead will go and review your code here. Okay, once he or she is happy with your code and doesn't have any problem, they can approve here, or they can approve it directly. They can approve with suggestions. Okay, that's an option. You can see there is an approve with suggestion options here. Okay, and then you can wait for the author. You can reject. You can even reject it. Okay, so you can reject it. So it is rejected here. So if it is rejected, I need to go and make my code change again. So you can, as a lead, as an admin, you can do anything whatever you want and provide the suggestions here in the pull request page. Okay, so if you are happy, if you are finally happy, what you can do is, once this is approved, what you can do is, you can finally click on complete and close this pull request. Okay, if in the drop down we have two other options to mark as draft, means if I click on draft, it will go into draft stage and it will not be public, it will not be active. Okay, now you can see it is in active state here. If I may mark it as draft, you can see it is draft. Currently it is not active. Okay, and finally what I can do is I can publish it to make it active. Once I publish it, it turned active again. And we have an option to abandon, in case if this PR is not at all needed, and if you want to delete it, you can click on this abandon and delete this particular PR. Okay, for now I am just trying to complete it. So what will happen when you click on complete is, all the code change that I am doing, right, it will get merged into my master branch. So see, there's an option to complete the merge. So in Git and all, there's a Git merge command too, but we are not doing that here. We are directly dealing that here in Azure DevOps repos side. Okay, now I'm clicking on complete merge. You can see it is loading. It is merging the PR. Here it is. Now you can see the PR is now successfully completed and my code change is now available in the main branch. If you have to look at that, now let's go back to my main branch. You can see initially I had only my readme file. Now I have my Python file, command line arguments too. Okay, so this is my very first code change with Azure Repos. Alright, so you can see the details here and the history, like what is the code change that I made. You can track the histories very easily. Okay, here now that branch whatever I created will be deleted by default. The reason is whenever you merge it into PR, all the developer branches will be deleted and it will be merged into master. Okay, because that is no longer needed. If there are a multiple member team, like you can't maintain all the developer branch, it will show here the list will be quite huge. So generally by default it will delete the branch that you have created and it will be merged into master. Okay, so this is how you will work with Azure Repos to actually maintain version control in your Azure DevOps project. Okay, so here on a higher level we saw what are the files. Files are the changes that is present in the PRs, and we have commits. We did a commit to, we did a git push to, we saw what is a branch. Tags we are yet to see, that we'll discuss in our upcoming videos. We also saw PRs. Okay, the reason I made this video is because you will get a overall picture about what you're actually doing. Once you get that picture, it is easy for you to dig in deeper and understand some advanced topic. Okay, so in our upcoming videos we will try to discuss all these in detail one by one, so that you have a very much understanding. But I hope you liked this video, which will cover a very basic overview about how to work with Azure Repos and how to work with Git and how to push your code into Git using Azure Repos. All right, so now we have learned our very first code change into Azure Repos. I hope you understood and you liked this video. If you like this video, please subscribe and follow my channel. Thank you.